All right, let's have some fun with this. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 333. 333. This is the one about Bruce Lee, the Consummate Rulebreaker. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well so that you don't miss any new videos. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. All right, so some of you may be aware that there are two Dans who have been influential in my career. There's, of course, Dan Inosanto, my martial arts mentor, and Dan Kennedy, my marketing mentor. And it's through Kennedy. So I'll show you this right here. So that's yours truly attending a Dan Kennedy conference. Actually, if you look closely, you'll see my good friend Sifu Nick Faruqi is attending. That's where Nick and I actually met. So anyhow, Dan Kennedy was instrumental in forming my ideas about business and martial art business specifically. And he and I had, during the 10 years that I was active in his conferences, he and I had quite a number of discussions and conversations about martial arts and Bruce Lee specifically. And so because I'm rereading one of his books, that's where I had the idea for today's topic, right? And just to give you an idea of just how involved he and I got, he gifted me this thing, The Treasures of Bruce Lee, right? So if you look, you'll see it says the little sticker pad there says for Dwight, right? And this was the card that accompanied it. It said, Dwight, I imagine you already own this. And he was right. I did already have it. But one can never be sure. Can regift to a worthy student. And if I remember correctly, I gave this to Ruben Barreto. If I remember correctly, that's what happened. I, in turn, gifted him this, Bruce Lee's Striking Thoughts, the John Little book. And he sent me a thank you card and said he's really into this Bruce Lee book. And then he mentions Napoleon Hill, says it's obvious that there's a Napoleon Hill influence. So I tell you all that just so you understand how it is that my thinking about martial art and Bruce Lee and what have you was formed. So the book that I'm rereading, I don't have a screen grab of it here, but if you remember in the postcard, the preview postcard for today, it shows it's the one about business success through breaking all the rules and what have you. So what rules did Bruce Lee break? Okay, well, here's one. Bruce Lee did a tremendous amount of self-promotion. And not that is uncommon, but it was kind of uncommon in the time that he did it, because Bruce Lee's martial art career started in an era when the arts outside of judo and maybe karate, they were relatively unknown, anything outside of those two. And it was certainly before martial art was a common professional endeavor, right? That people were teaching this stuff full time. But it appears that Bruce Lee, very early on, he determined that he was going to make a living teaching martial art. And so to this end, it appears that he did a lot of self-promotion, a tremendous amount of demonstrations. And I gather at the outset, it was to get his name out there. And then after he became more established, it was to get the word out about his schools. So he is reported to have performed demonstrations almost literally fresh off the boat um, when he arrived in San Francisco in mid 1959. And he was there, I think he got there in May of 59, and he was there from May until July. So something like 3.5 months or what have you that he stayed in San Francisco. And he did a bunch of demonstrations during that time. Then when he moved up to Seattle, um, one of the first demonstrations that he did was at the Seattle Chinese Seafair Festival, right? And then a number of demonstrations at various high schools and colleges, including one at Edison Technical Schools. It was their what was called an Asian Day celebration. And as you guys know, that's where he had enrolled to finish up his high school in. By the time he started the Junfan Gung Fu Institute in 1962, according to my calculations, he'd done about 15 demonstrations all over Seattle, including the Chinese New Year's. I think he did the Chinese New Year demonstration like every year, 62, 63, 64, what have you. He demonstrated at the Seattle downtown YMCA. He was on the TV station KCTS, and then at the renowned Yesler Terrace Gymnasium. Okay, so now he's started the first location of the Junfan Gung Fu Institute, 1962. So now, as a guy who has his own school, it seems like the demonstrations branched out to include other martial arts schools. So there's a report of the demonstration at Ralph Castro's Kempo Karate School. There were demonstrations with his student Doug Palmer in Vancouver. Then, of course, there was the Seattle World Trade Fair, and then he even did a demonstration for the Republic of China National Independence Day in Chinatown. Okay, then he goes. He has a homecoming trip in 1963 to Hong Kong. Comes back to Seattle, and the demonstrations start all over again, including a trip out to Hawaii at Wally J's, more demonstrations at University of Washington, and then I call it the fateful demonstration at Garfield High School, right? And those of you, well, tell me in the comments why the demonstration at Garfield High School would be so fateful. And just so you guys know, I attended Garfield High School. Not as a student. I went to a basketball game there in 1980. Right. And then also there was another fateful demonstration at Ed Parker's school in Pasadena in late 1963. So again, in the comments, if you're in the know, tell me why that demonstration in late 1963 at Ed Parker's could have been significant. All right. Well, actually, now I'm going to give you the answer because, of course, in August of 1964, there was his appearance at the inaugural Long Beach Internationals. Right. The following month, he's back in LA at the Sing Lee Theater. That's where you see the famous picture of him and Sifu Inasano. And then later in the year, he's back across the bay in San Francisco, because I think by this time he had moved to Oakland. So that's why I say he's back across the bay in San Francisco. And he does another famous demonstration at the Sun Sing Theater. Now, if you're exhausted listening to all of that, I was exhausted just researching all of it. But it's important, I think, to stress that Bruce Lee did all of this in an era when if a martial arts school even had a Yellow Pages ad, that was pretty much it. You ran a Yellow Pages ad, and then you sat back and you waited either for people to walk in or to call you on the phone if you had a phone or what have you. But not Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was out there breaking the rules and demonstrating his butt off. Okay, so that was one of the first rule break-ins. Second rule break-in, which is pretty obvious, and I know a bunch of you guys have realized this, he cross-trained in other styles, other arts, whatever you want to call them, long before cross training was even a thing, right? So I alluded to the time that he spent in San Francisco before moving up to Seattle. Okay. And again, it is reported that during that 3.5 months that he was in San Francisco, he visited many of the local Kung Fu schools. And it is said that he wanted to train with everybody. Okay. So as a result of that, it's obvious. Let me show you some stuff here. It's obvious that Bruce Lee had some kind of um, a dealing in Choi Le Foot. So this is the chop choi, the knuckle fist, or I think some people even call it the leopard's paw or something. So this is Bruce Lee in traditional Kung Fu garb, doing the chop choi on a Wing Chun wooden dummy, which I think is kind of interesting. This is him again doing the chop choi in, I think this might have been, what year was this? Now I forget, but this was on a trip back to Hong Kong, and that is him and Robert Chan. And then there's this shot. Apparently, this is also a Choi Le Foot pose, and this is the I have said that this is Palos Verdes, but I saw something the other day that said that I might be wrong about that. It's not Palos Verdes, it's actually Pacific Palisades. Well, I don't know LA too well. So if anybody has specific information on that, were these done at Palos Verdes or were these done at Pacific Palisades? Go ahead and let me know in the comments and what have you. But my point is, it's obvious that Bruce Lee had done cross training in stuff, right? And we know that when he moved up to Seattle, he spent time with Fook Kyung up there, and but my understanding is that the time with Fook Kyung wasn't that traditional instructor-student relationship, and I think that might have been a mutual agreement. Like Fook Kyung didn't want people to know that he was teaching, and Bruce Lee didn't want people in Hong Kong to know that he was studying with somebody else. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I suspect that it was something like that. But to finish this up, and with rule breaking, to me, the most important aspect of all of this is that Bruce Lee did not wait for somebody to appoint him instructor, right? So for example, this is how I look at it. When he was leaving Hong Kong for the States, I don't believe that Bruce Lee asked if there was somebody in Wing Chun that he should look for so that he could continue his Wing Chun training, right? Obviously, I'm not saying that he didn't train with anybody, because we just talked about Fook Kyung, right? But Bruce Lee certainly didn't have the idea of, oh, well, I'll be in the States, but then I'll try to get back to Hong Kong and update my training and get more qualifications and whatever. No, Bruce Lee did not wait for somebody to appoint him. His strategy was to use an approach which I learned about through Dan Kennedy again, and it's called the leapfrog theory. And if you saw the postcard, I put up a cover of Robert Ringer's book, Winning Through Intimidation. And that's where Ringer talks about the leapfrog theory. And so Bruce Lee did not follow the customary societal, maybe even mental conditioning of going chronologically from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. Bruce Lee kind of skipped all that and jumped to the top rung of the ladder and made himself the authority of his own Kung Fu system. So let that settle in, right? Try to absorb that idea of what he did, because this is what I'm going to say to wrap this up. In my opinion, a rule breaker like Bruce Lee would never be happy with people turning his beloved art into some kind of a fixed system. Bruce Lee would not have been happy with people keeping the JKD flame alive. I think Bruce Lee would prefer that people become Jeet Kune fire starters. Okay, so that's it from me. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I got to say about this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell over on the YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods, at paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami. You will find the Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1, raw but edited version, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami. Put that up on the screen. Right. You can also support the show over at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this. The official UMAA Kali JKD t-shirt. That's at jkdrebel.com. Just click on the Rebel Gear link. Coming up in just under a month here in Miami, we're bringing the Dao Chuan Fa folks, G. Anthony and Mrs. Joseph, to Miami, do the first of its kind TCF seminar. That is at Facebook events, right? So just go to my page and then click on my events, or I'll leave that up on the screen for you so you can copy down that number, 120-538-3840618. All right. So that's the TCF seminar. And last but not least, you know that next year in February, we have Titans of JKD 4. I'm actually in discussion with Chris and Cass about the eventual format that we'll use for Titans of JKD. So we'll see. We might have some earth-shattering news to share with you about Titans. But if you go to titansofjkd.com and just navigate the website on the current seminars, you can actually register for that already. Okay, and that is about it. My trusty musketeer buddy and training partner, Ron Reagan Goldstein, and I are off to Dallas for a belated birthday celebration seminar with Sifu Dan. So on Friday, we will not have an episode of the Jeet Kune Dialogues, but we'll be back in business next Friday. Today is a yellow day. So there you go. All right. Really, Dwight, you should get your t-shirts ironed. Okay. All right. So that is it for me for today. I had some stuff going on yesterday, so was forced to change the time. So Alex Hausman, do not panic. We're not changing to Thursdays at 3 p.m. It'll still be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. As long as I'm in town, as long as there are no demands on my time elsewhere, this will be the time. All right, that's enough. Okay, so you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.